Welcome into the Friday edition of the Hoof Podcast. I will be your solo host, Eric, otherwise known as E Brown Hoof on Twitter. Be sure to give me a follow. Make sure you follow the Cover One Twitter page as well. So much great content coming out about the draft week in and week out. You can follow that handle at ManFreeCover1. Be sure to check it out. There's always phenomenal stuff coming out. So much great insight every single week. Make sure you give us a follow there. Also, subscribe to the channel. You know, I think this channel is just getting better, and, we're kind of new, really. So, as things move forward, I think it's only going to get better for our listeners, for the viewers, and maybe even for us as well as content creators. So, be sure to hit that like button, and also be sure to subscribe to the Cover One YouTube channel. Anyway. Fact is, you cannot predict the future, right? That's 100% true. But you can forecast for the future. And I think a lot of companies do that, right? Lots of factories do that. Production based on this time last year versus production this year. If you know last year's production numbers, you can forecast for the resources you're going to probably need the following year. You do that through historical data. See it in finance, see it at post office packages for like around Christmas time. You need to get your resources ready for when production increases, right? Not saying that's always true in football, but I think you can forecast maybe a little bit of production, right? So, for example, if the Bills bring in a cornerback in round one of the draft, what are the expectations for that corner? And I think, number one, you want him to be a starter. Anybody drafted in the first round, I don't care if it's pick 1 all the way to pick 32, they're drafted to be a starter, an eventual starter. Because the Bills are picking 30, there's a little bit of leeway, a hell of a lot more leeway than there would be for a top 5 guy, right? Obviously. But you want that person to be a starter. That's what they're drafted for. So what would somebody like that have to do? And that's what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to get into the quarterback room. We're going to get into the defensive end / edge room, whatever you like to prefer, whatever you call it. I'm going to talk about some insights on the season, and hopefully that will provide our listeners with some ideas about what holes or what needs the Bills have at these two positions. So, when we're talking about cornerback first, opposite Trey White. Not going to talk about Trey White because we know no one's taking his job, obviously. So, the Bills' need really is cornerback number 2. I think everybody knows that. So, who's in this room that we need to talk about here? Let's go. Levi Wallace, 12 games last year, 12 starts. Josh Norman appeared in 9 games, 3 starts. Dane Jackson, fan favorite, it's growing. 5 games, 2 starts. Had a decent showing. So I started off with Levi Wallace, right? I think this guy, he's a hot debate because we talk about cornerback coming in here. Levi Wallace is right in the middle of that argument. For Brandon Beane to make a decision on cornerback in round 1 or 2, you got to look at Levi Wallace. What do you have in Levi Wallace? And I think they love the personality. I certainly love Levi Wallace's personality, the drive. Right? Every year is improved. Every offseason he gets doubted. Right? Guy's a walk-on in Alabama, undrafted free agent in Buffalo. And now he's going into his 4th year as a starter. Give the kid some credit at some point. He's earned his way. Every single year he earns it. We have the same conversations every single offseason. Bills need a corner. Bills need a corner. All the national media guys say Bills need a corner. And even this year, I know I've said it, Bills need a corner. I mean, I don't think he's going anywhere. This is from Bills PR. He goes to dinner with Tremaine Edmonds every Friday before a game. Tremaine Edmonds drafted to be the leader of the defense. That's a good friend to have. So I think if you think Levi Wallace is going anywhere, he's sticking around. I thought if he was going to leave, I thought it would have been this last offseason just to get the money. But nope, he comes back. That really did surprise me. But even more reasons to like Levi Wallace, the person. Always been a lot of negative stuff about his ability to stop the run. Lots of people always mention, misses too many tackles, at least in the past. I think he's really improved it. You've heard a lot less chatter about his ability to stop the run and make clean tackles. And I think he's shown that a lot this past season in the 12 games that he appeared in. 15 total with the playoffs, but just the 12 in the regular season. He only missed 2 tackles out of 53 total tackles, and that does include the playoffs, 15 total games. Only 2. If you want to compare that to the NFL average 6.3 missed tackles for cornerbacks within the same, defensive snap range as Levi Wallace. I can't compare Levi Wallace's 12 games to a regular cornerback's 16 games, right? So anybody with the same snap count, plus 100 or minus 100 on defense, the average is 6.3. He's still 4 tackles ahead of them. So, yeah, I think that's pretty significant. Yeah, the way you measure it does matter. You can't compare him to a guy who has 1,000 snaps on the season. He's got to be in the same range to have a real comparison. And missed tackles, they have a huge impact on the team. Teams with the 5 least missed tackles, the 49ers, the Colts, Rams, Saints, Seahawks. 4 of them were playoff teams. One of them is probably a quarterback away. In a really tough division. The 49ers, that division, the Niners are better than people giving them credit for this season. The 5 most missed tackles by team. Raiders, Ravens, Jets, Vikings, Lions. Only 1 playoff team because their quarterback's really, really good. I think missed tackles does matter. It does have a larger impact on teams. Levi Wallace in pass coverage. I think the high on the season is when he gets the huge interception in the Rams game. It sets up the Bills' touchdown. That was such a huge play for the team. And he had some lows as well. You're always going to have lows with corners, unless they're super elite. Even Stephon Gilmore had a lot of bad games this year, right? And a lot of people consider him a top corner, right? Top 3 corner. Levi Wallace gave up 9 receptions in each of the 2 games, right? Miami the first time and San Francisco, and allowed 100 yards receiving in each of those games. That's probably the season low for him. It happens. You just want to see him get better over time. Few teams have 2 shutdown corners, right? Teams are very good at scheming. They'll find a way to get receptions. You compare him to Josh Norman and Dane Jackson, Levi Wallace, with targets compared to completions. Levi Wallace only allowed 58% of passes to be caught. Josh Norman, 66%. Dane Jackson, 62%. And the average on the season, 68%. That's for all corners in the NFL. Within the same defensive snap range, right? So, below average across the board, it's a good sign, right? Really smart coaching. That's part of it for sure. But Levi Wallace leads the way. PFF says only 6 cornerbacks were below 50%. And Levi Wallace right there at 58. He's in the same 10% or so. That's just a few catches, it seems like. Levi Wallace giving up 12.2 yards per catch on the season, and that includes the playoffs. The playoffs alone is 5.6 yards per catch. Interesting to know if it was a scheme change for these playoff teams. I know if the Colts jump out in my mind, that shallow cross was killing the defense all day. Just a little dump off, right? brings down that average. But Levi Wallace, I mean, he's playing good defense, but I mean, the things that he did give up, 10-yard plays, 15-yard plays, couple big plays, I mean, that's just going to happen in the NFL. You're going against the best athletes in the world, right? Some of the best athletes. No one who plays cornerback is going to be perfect, is my point. Let's get a little deeper here. Let's look at quarterback rating for opposing quarterbacks. In Levi Wallace, we're going to change the measurement here. We're going to, instead of defensive snaps, we're going to go to coverage snaps only. Levi Wallace had 478 coverage snaps on the year. And where does that stand with other corners around the league? Well, let's take a look. Measure it the same way, quarterback rating plus or minus coverage snaps. So the opportunities are similar. So at plus 100, so Levi Wallace had 478. I took all the corners with 578 and 378, and then ran a data distribution on them. There's 48 total in that category. The lowest was 48.9 quarterback rating. That was Bryce Callahan from the Broncos. And the highest was LaShawn Sims from the Titans at 139.6 opposing quarterback rating. I was going to explain the quarterback rating equation to everybody, but that's a dry one. I'm trying my best not to bore everybody. So I'll post that on the video so you can see it, but trust me, you don't want to go through it. So yeah, Levi Wallace at 81.3 opposing quarterback rating. Where does that stand with the group? It's above average in his opportunity group. Almost 1.5 standard deviations lower than the average opposing quarterback rating for corner. The mean, 97.9, and Levi Wallace is there at 81.3. Almost at 83. 81.3. Above average with the similar opportunities, right? It's not fair to assume if he had another 200 opportunities, what would it look like? There's no way to know. Just got to let it go. So that's a good sign. Above average corner, I think, in pass coverage. Where's Josh Norman stand? 88.5 quarterback rating for opposing quarterbacks. Who targeted him? I think he's an average player at best, Josh Norman. Experienced pro. I like the experience that he brought to the team. Does have a lot of leadership qualities. But you look at the guy, I think he lost a step. And he's had a hell of a career. Not taking anything away from Josh Norman. Looks like he's not coming back to the Bills. I think I'd be shocked if he did, to be honest. So let's take a look at his run stop ability. I mean, I think when I watch the games, something that did jump off is he's a physical player. But the stats don't match that. I think he missed a lot of tackles, according to the stats. PFF's missed tackle rate, he was at 20.7, and the average is 13.2. So he's up there. He had 6 total missed tackles on the year. Average was 3.9. And, I mean, the Derrick Henry one jumps out. Look, it happens. It's the NFL. It happens. But, guy that physical, you expect a little more, And Dane Jackson coming in at 6.3 tackle rate. Missed tackles, just 1. Just didn't have a lot of games, a lot of snaps. So, really inconclusive, if you will. So, let's look at Josh Norman in the pass coverage. Got our histogram here. 273 snaps for him. So the category he'll be in is 373 coverage snaps, 173 coverage snaps. It's a lower category. And like I said, his opposing quarterback rating, 88.5. So where does that stand with quarters with similar opportunities? He's still above average in pass coverage. Just barely. The mean was 103.8. He's at 88.5. The range, he's all the way up to 53 was the lowest. And the highest was 153.9. So he's just in that category between 70 and 90 opposing quarterback rating with 9 other players. This is built around the mean, so the vast majority are around the mean. He's an outlier in the above average category in pass coverage. If you're measuring quarterback rating versus Josh Norman, above average, could be scheme, right? Like I said, they have really good coaches, but this is what the statistics say. So what does that tell us? If the Bills take a cornerback, they'll have to come in and at least carry Josh Norman's load. 273 pass coverage snaps, and hopefully improve the missed tackles a little bit, and maybe have even a similar rating, 88.5 quarterback rating for opposing quarterbacks would be really good. Or if you want the starting job, you're going to have to, that's a good place to start, 88.5 opposing quarterback rating. Because again, if you're a first round guy, obviously Levi Wallace will play. But Josh Norman's gone now, so there's the hole right there. Somebody's got to take these extra snaps. Maybe it is Levi Wallace. Maybe he does play a lot. Maybe the Bills don't take a corner early. But if they do, there's a lot there. There's going to be a lot to carry. All right, so let's move on to Dane Jackson, fan favorite. Everybody's been talking about him. He had some good games. He had a good showing for a 7th-round pick to come in here and, his first NFL start, get an interception and 2 pass breakups. That just, you don't see that too often. He answered the call. You love to see that from a young guy. The Arizona game stands out as well. 8 tackles, a pass breakup in the end zone, which was huge, and the fumble recovery. There's reasons to be excited. The guy's a gamer. He only had 131 defensive snaps. Hard to measure. When you get down to 30, weird stuff starts happening in the statistics world. So I didn't measure this one with the histogram because it'd almost be inaccurate because there's so many, backups and all this stuff. Concerns about Dane Jackson. The last time we saw him in Week 17, Tua went 5 for 7 on him, giving up 15.2 yards a catch. And, there's just a lot we need to see, a lot more I need to see to call Dane Jackson someone you can rely on for the entire season behind Levi Wallace. There's just a lot of unknowns there. 7th-round pick, odds are against him. Fair and simple. Again, if the Bills take a corner early, even in the top 3-4 rounds, a draft pick's always going to be expected to play. And a guy like a 7th-round pick like Dane Jackson, he's going to have to work harder to get on the field. Not saying he can't do it, just odds are against him, right? I would suggest special teams, work your ass off on that, you'll make the team, There's a lot to like there. Okay, so let's move on to edge. And, I watched the Super Bowl. Mentioned this on Making the Case for Defensive Line a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago. When I watched Tampa Bay destroy the Chiefs, it was like I just wanted a Mercedes-Benz. It's like when a Mercedes-Benz drives by you and you're like, I really want that now, Same thing with watching Tampa Bay's front four destroy Pat Mahomes. Per Next Gen Stats, Tampa Bay's defense aligned in a too-high safety shell on 87% of plays versus the Chiefs. It's the highest rate by a Bulls-led defense in any game over the last 5 seasons. The Bucs blitzed on 9.6% of their dropbacks, the lowest rate by a Bulls-led defense over the past 5 seasons. And they had the Bucs had the 5th highest blitz rate at 39% during the season. So they've been blitzing all year. They just stopped. That's how you beat the Chiefs. Right? Pressuring the quarterback with front four. Seen many teams do it. And so let's look at quarterback pressures. This has been a topic on the Hoof Live a few times. I'm a believer in quarterback pressures. For those of you who don't know, quarterback pressures are hurries, basically chasing the quarterback out of the pocket. Quarterback knockdowns mean hitting the quarterback, even if they throw the ball without getting a penalty, right? And sacks combined. So those are the numbers for those three things. Some people on the Hoof Live say quarterback pressures don't mean anything. I disagree with that, and no one's here to argue with me, so I'm going to let you know. When a quarterback runs out of the pocket, that has an impact on the play. Right? And I get there's a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I get that 100%. But still, I still think quarterback ratings are way lower when they're on the run. Strong side, weak side, doesn't matter. When they're on the run, it's just a lot harder to complete a pass. And I get there's freak athletes out there. There's one on our team in Josh Allen. But I get the Pat Mahomes of the world who can make plays off script, the Russell Wilsons, and the Lamar Jacksons. But it's still way harder for the quarterback to make that completion than it is for them to just sit there and make throws. So a quarterback hurry is an impact on a play. Obviously, a quarterback knockdown is an impact on a play, whether immediately in that play or throughout the entire game. How many times do you want to get hit by a 300-pound guy who can run a 4.6 40? I know I don't. Any one of those, continuously throughout a game, I think wears down the psyche of a quarterback. It's an impact. Obviously, sacks are an impact as well. So I prefer quarterback pressures over the sack stat just because any impact from the D-line, I think, matters and helps the team. And that's what I would look for in the draft. Who can make an impact? That's what you're always looking for when you draft players or even when you sign free agents. You never know when someone's going to have to get thrown in the game and, who knows? You want them to have an impact there. So we all know the Bills, they rotate a ton of their defensive ends, right? Really, I know Jerry Hughes plays a lot more. Addison plays a lot, but Epenesa only 177 snaps. I know that Trent Murphy cut into that on the defense, but they like to rotate a lot. It keeps people fresh, right? And I think it brings up the pressure rate, meaning defensive snaps divided by, quarterback pressures. The other way around, actually, gives you the rate at which you can get at the quarterback. How many plays does it take you to get to the quarterback, right? The greats have a higher rate. The people who get beat a lot probably don't have as high of a rate, right? So then you look at, there's Hughes, Addison, Epenesa are the names that stick out for me who are impact players on the defensive end for the Bills, on the defensive line at edge. Like I talked about earlier in the show, studying the past can help you predict the future. It can forecast a little bit, right? So can the Bills get a player in the draft who can match the production of Mario Addison, AJ Epenesa, Jerry Hughes in their first year? Or is there going to be a gap? Now, if you take somebody at 30, is there going to be a learning curve? Are they going to be a little short on that production? Right? Because I think the Bills are trying to win the Super Bowl this year. So I think looking at some of these things, should they trade up for an edge player if that's the case? Somebody you think could come in, get high pressures, make an impact. So let's take a look at this real quick. Here is the Bills range if they stayed at 30. Right here, picks since 2013, picks 20 through 41, and their rookie year pressure rate. So you'll see here, there's 3 red lines. Top one's Jerry Hughes. His pressure rate is way high, That's higher than anybody else on the chart for those of you just listening. The next red line is Mario Addison's pressure rate. And there's only 4 players who were drafted whose rookie year they met that same production rate or better than Mario Addison did last year. And then you look at AJ Epenesa, and he's down there at maybe the average. I mean, it's a little higher than I anticipated when I first ran these numbers. But only 177 defensive snaps for AJ Epenesa last season. But that frequency of getting to the quarterback and making an impact is drafting a rookie. Will that have an impact? Or was it going to take a while to get there? So, 8 of 14 edge players between picks 20 and 41 drafted since 2013 got the same or better quarterback pressure rate their rookie season as AJ Epenesa did last season. So the answer is, yeah. You can absolutely get an impact player at 30 at edge who can come in and match the same production and get after the quarterback and not get beat. You know, some of these later picks here on the chart, Preston Smith, obviously still in the league with the Packers right now, got drafted by Washington. Noah Spence drafted by the Saints. Harold Landry, Titan. All of them would match this production that Mario Addison, it'd be in the same range as Mario Addison, AJ Epenesa. Obviously, they got some work to do to get to Jerry Hughes level. One player was close, though. Emmanuel Ogbah. He's drafted by the Browns his rookie year. I mean, and he, again, second-round pick. It can go the other way as well if you don't do your due diligence. The Kevin Dodds of the world, right? Just tanked. Not sure if it was injury or just lack of production, but just didn't get there as far as getting pressure on the quarterback. Let's take a look at the first round, picks 1 through 19 since 2013. Now you're seeing a couple guys hit Jerry Hughes level, right? Nick and Joey Bosa just skyrocket off the chart. Jonathan Allen of the Washington football team is there as well. His rookie year, he matched Jerry Hughes' quarterback pressure rate as far as production goes. And Epenesa did pretty well, if you look at it this way. Getting after the quarterback pretty frequently. So obviously, I think trading up, statistically, there's a better chance that you'll get somebody who can match that production of these 3 guys rather than wait to the second round. 12 out of 16 edge players drafted between 1 and 19 since 2013 got the same or higher quarterback pressure rate their rookie season as AJ Epenesa. Little better odds. And let's look at the data distribution. Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison measured the same way I did the other guys. What's cool about this is Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison had the same pass rush opportunities. Jerry Hughes had 370 on the season. Mario Addison had 368. So you could run them in the same data group, plus 100 and minus 100 pass rush opportunities. Jerry Hughes had 54 quarterback pressures per PFF. Mario Addison had 39. Now that's a difference. Jerry Hughes was getting after it last year. The mean for this group, this opportunity group, 37.4. Obviously, Jerry Hughes way over that at 54. He's actually in he's between top 7 and 17 of this group. Names in the top 7, Bradley Chubb, Brian Burns, Joey Bosa, Carl Lawson. It's good company. And he's right there after those guys. I'd say he's about 10. So, yeah, Jerry Hughes getting after it last season. Whereas Mario Addison, right around the mean. He's at 39. The mean's 37. Give it to him. A little bit above average. I'd say he's average. At the frequency he gets after the quarterback, pretty average. And obviously everybody wants to know AJ Epenesa. You know, how's the rook? Well, the answer is 16 pressures, but only 177 pass rush opportunities. So, going to be lower. And so we put him in the same category. Players with 77 opportunities, players with 277 opportunities. And he's at the mean. The mean is 15.6. He was at 16 pressures total. So pretty average for what opportunities he was given. So I said all that to say these are decisions that Brandon Beane needs to make in these two positions. Number one, can a rookie come in here and beat out Levi Wallace? That will be very challenging for anybody. So you need a first rounder if that's the case. Or maybe even a second rounder. Or, two, do you need someone to take Josh Norman's role, and that someone has to compete with Dane Jackson? Maybe somebody in the later rounds, right? If you take an early corner, it's just going to be a really, really hard sell to say Dane Jackson's going to win that, the backup role to Levi Wallace. But those are the things that I think Brandon Beane needs to look at. And when we talk about edge and quarterback pressure efficiency, can somebody come in here and match those high rates their rookie season? Right? Because this team's all in for a Super Bowl. I think it's Super Bowl or bust is the expectation. So you need somebody ready to play. And I get it if you're building for the future. Like, I get that too. That's definitely part of it. But the first thing they need to look at is, can somebody come in and contribute day one and match that efficiency that Hughes, Addison, and AJ Epenesa are getting? Because that's what's going to take to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? We've seen the blueprint from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and now it's time to build that blueprint. And that's all I got. So I appreciate everybody joining me. I appreciate you listening through the entire episode. If you want to check out the charts, they'll be on YouTube. I will post them on the episode, so as I talk, you'll be able to see what I'm looking at. And, give me some feedback. This is kind of one of the first times I've done it like this, so any feedback I can get personally will carry over, and we'll just keep improving. I have a lot of fun doing this. It's a lot more fun with other people, I'll be honest, but, it's always a good time talking Bills. So I will see you next week, and thank you for tuning in to the Hoof Podcast.